Good afternoon. This is Paul Maguire, Chairman of the County Carlow Military Museum. Today, subject is the project that we've been most successful for to date is the publication of the book entitled Them Up From Carlow. It's a military history of the town and county, the servicemen and women who went from Carlow to the Great War, 1418 War. Significant in a number of reasons. One, because it's not the traditional military book. It's about the communities, the men themselves, the families and the communities that they came from within the town and county of Carlow. Nationally, the Great War, as with other countries, was dramatic in the extreme for everybody, particularly for Ireland, and Carlow, being the second smallest county in the country, suffered grievous losses in proportion to its overall population for the county. During the 4-year period, of the 50,000 that are registered in the Island Bridge Memorial for those killed in the Great War, some 1,000, 1,500 were actually maimed, gassed, and returned back from the war as casualties. But a further 550 never came back at all. These were men and boys, some as young as 15, 16 years of age, right up to 60, who went to the war for various reasons. Given the climate at the time, they were obliged to go from state and church, were all behind the war effort. The resultant of 4 years ranked second only to the famine for the devastation it brought to the nation and the island as a whole. The story of County Carlow men can be mirrored from Cork to Donegal. It's an interesting history in the sense that it tells us a missing link of the community of Carlow. And as I say, it's replicated right around the country. The stories haven't been told, and this is just an initial project that we did into just to see if we could get some kind of scope onto that period and the effects of it. There's a lot of it that it's by no means complete. There's a lot more. It's opened the door to a lot of schools and colleges that we meet and other museums that we've twinned with since. It's been successful on a number of levels in historical terms, in military terms, and also in genealogical terms, in the family roots, family members who are looking for grandparents, uncles, who previous to this hadn't got an idea as to where they'd go or what's the structure to trace the family. I visited a number of from Gallipoli to France to Belgium, the Somme, Ypres. So I can talk from first-hand knowledge of the areas, the people that I met while I was there. Over the last 3 or 4 years in particular, we've kept in contact, and I've been again to Turkey to walk the fields and walk the beaches that the Carlow men, some of them tragically, was their last land before they were lost in the combat. So there's a whole raft of emotions that come when you talk about the war, that you actually see the scale and the conditions that they suffered. It takes away the gloss, the glitz, the glamour that Hollywood has lavished on it, as it been some kind of heroic macho thing. The reality was far different and far more dramatic on the people themselves. It ranks from men and women who came back limbless, blind, gassed from the physical traumas that they suffered in the 4 years. Also the psychological, those that came back physically intact but were not able-bodied in the sense that their minds, their cognizance had gone. Shell shock, as they termed it in those days, or post-traumatic stress would be a more familiar term to us nowadays. So all in all, this book, again, just focuses a small spotlight of interest on the people of Carlow town and county. Given the population of Carlow, we estimate 5,000 to 7,000 men would have served in those 4 years in various regiments. Some based and raised entirely in Ireland, some in the UK, some in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, India. These men, my own family, for instance, members of my own family came from India, South Africa for service in those countries before the war. Some of them survived the war. Unfortunately, some of them didn't. And this, again, was a trait that ran right around the country. So The second thing we've tried to do is to bring a little bit more knowledge to the Carlow people today of the generation that tragically was lost. They were the flower of that generation, and an entire community is the sadder because of them. They are going. It is immeasurable what the effects would have been. No documentation that I'm aware of, and we've researched this extensively. No documentation or research has been carried out into the effects of the community as a result of these men missing. Some of them, as I say, tragically never came back, and some that did were never the same. They weren't able to hold down jobs, they weren't able to commit to family and domestic life. So overall, the tragedy was compounded in the years after 1918. It's a book that I hope you'll read with interest. It's a hope, if you're from Carlow, if you have Carlow connections, I hope you will a great deal of satisfaction on reading it, and I hope you'll have a lot of pride for the men themselves and the community that we all belong to.